episode 50. A little late, Gus. Sorry. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
2 weeks away from 1 year. It's crazy that we're almost there.
50 episodes is just kind of like a flat number when you put the thing out over the weekend of like 50 episodes. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, 50 normal episodes. We have like 60, I think, total. Like
50 weekly episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, but we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that has produced over 50 pieces of content, ironically. We release every Thursday morning on podcast networks of whatever you use. I think we're on everything. And you can also just follow us on Twitch and YouTube, Twitter. All those links are in the show, notes or on our website, digitaldaysgaming.com. Where you can look at all the previous episodes if you want to check them out. There's some good ones in there. And if you're there, if you can leave us a review, that would be helpful. Share the show, any of that cool stuff that helps us grow and gets more people to check us out. That is always helpful, especially as we're getting closer and closer and closer to this next-gen stuff, PS5s and Xbox Series. There might be a lot of people looking for some information or looking for some, entertainment, as people are kind of, sort of, starting to go back to normal a little.
Despite what they should be doing, everyone is going back to normal.
I'm seeing a little bit more traffic on the road, so maybe, some more people are, commuting again, or commuting maybe 1 or 2 days a week instead of no days a week. Like, who knows? But could be anything that, or maybe they need something to listen to while they're at work, to put some headphones on to silence their kids while they're doing their virtual school that goes so well. But yeah, like I said, everything is in the show notes, so check it out and follow away as you please. And we also live stream the show on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where you can subscribe to us if you want to. If you link your Twitch account and your Amazon Prime account, you get something called Prime Gaming, Twitch Gaming, I can't remember what it's called now, where you get a free sub to the streamer of your choice. And this month, it looks like if you feel like gifting a sub to somebody, I think if it's the first time you've ever gifted a sub on Twitch, you get 20% off. So, something kind of cool. All right, let's get right into the news. Speaking of Amazon/Twitch.
Yeah, this one comes at no surprise, but Amazon has stopped development on its free-to-play shooter Crucible. You remember this 3 months ago, I think June. This game came out with a whimper, kind of broken, missing several features you would expect from a game in 2020. Amazon then delisted it and said they're going to keep working on it. And now, October, they are done. They are not going to do anything more with it. They are refunding any in-game purchases made, like credits and like cosmetics. Those will be refunded to people. And they're going to hold a final playtest community celebration, both in-game on their Discord, to sunset Crucible into the oblivion. Dave, thoughts on this? Because I have thoughts.
I didn't play the game at all. I know you did some. This is a little bit concerning, just because Amazon has purchased studios to make games. And this is not only is it a failure, but with there being no kind of like single player to it, if there's nobody on the servers, like this is the true 100% definition of a dead game. And Amazon pulling the plug on this is also a little concerning, because they are very quick. They didn't try to fix it. They didn't try to update it. They didn't try to revitalize it. I mean, they could have done multiple things. They could have, talked to some of their Twitch partners that they have and about playing the game again, as they've been trying to fix it and clean it up and make it, show people like, hey, this isn't terrible. Like, they could have even done something of sponsored streams, because they do essentially write Twitch's paycheck. And help some of their top creators put it on the front page. Got even, like a streamer event going on where they could have gotten 20 or 30 streamers to play against each other.
Which I think they did day one, but like...
Right. But I mean, I think they should have taken the time to put some of the stuff in the game that was missing, and then try to see if they can revitalize it again before they're like, F it, it's done. Nobody's playing. We're over. Like, and that's a little concerning for the next game that comes out, like in terms of, especially if it's not a free-to-play game.
Their MMO, I believe, will be free to play, that they're currently working on. That was supposed to come out this summer, but was delayed because of COVID.
And because the Crucible's terrible.
Yeah, because potentially they saw Crucible was like, oh, people want in-game voice chat? Oh, shit. Okay, let's put that in.
I mean, it is a little concerning. I mean, we've always talked about in the past about like Google, like, oh, we're done. Like, that's enough. And Amazon's kind of doing it right now, too. At the same time, like, I get it where they're like, it's just not worth our time anymore. Like, if nobody's going to play the game, let's focus our energy somewhere else instead of keeping dead servers alive. So, like, I understand it. It is a little concerning, but it's also good that at least they're doing all the refunds and everything like that. But it's kind of scary. Like, this is your first swing, and this is not only a miss. This is like you didn't even get in the batter's box and see a pitcher throw the ball.
Yeah, this is getting injured in preseason. This is. This is a bad look for Amazon. It's not surprising because they have multiple studios and they've only released like one or two games, and this is one of them. I don't understand how much money Amazon has. You would think they would just throw money at this to make it work, especially with Luna coming out eventually. Like, just to have an extra game in their library, because they're going to be missing all those games that Microsoft and Sony are going to be buying from other publishers. So even if it's like a bad game now, just to like throw as much money as you can, because it wasn't a terrible idea of a shooter, it's just like a PvE shooter or PvPvE. It's not a bad concept that if you throw enough resources at it, you could probably get a decent amount of people playing it, especially when you have Luna coming and you want people to play Luna, have some sort of, at least a bullet point on Luna that's like, hey, exclusive games, and it'll just be the MMO and Crucible at this point. It's Amazon just didn't even want to try. Like, it's just kind of crazy.
I mean, but we've seen companies like fix it, like where their game has almost been determined to be dead, and we've seen them somewhat revitalize it. Whether it's been Ubisoft with a couple of their games, with what they've been able to do with the Division. Now, the player count probably wasn't as low as Crucible's player count. This being PC only didn't help. Just because, like, obviously when a game is dead, it's dead, and there's not, when you don't have multiple platforms helping carry it, to where you might have a couple players on this platform, a couple players on that platform to maybe somewhat save it. But especially with so much stuff available on Steam for you to play, like, it's in the free to play market, it just moves away from it. But it is, just interesting that they completely just decided to pull the plug on it entirely.
As I'm literally pulling a plug from my wall.
Yeah.
No, it's just overall a bad look going into a new service to just like kill this. But like, you weren't interested in Crucible. Like, it's been available to play for a while until it was delisted, and you never once were like, even though you like
to be 100% honest with you, I don't even think I've seen a trailer for it. Like, I don't even know what it looks like, and that could be a terrible marketing ploy as well. Like, they just didn't market the game well either.
No, it came and went. Like, I think they did hire some streamers day one that kind of played it, and then it just disappeared.
But I'm talking about, I didn't even see like a YouTube advertisement on, and again, this is Amazon not using the platform correctly, that with them owning Twitch, like, they can control what ads people see at the beginning of Twitch streams and stuff like that. Like, this should have been there.
They could have done the overlay on just, basic Twitch TV. Just see, you load the page and there's Crucible. Yeah, they did a bad job marketing it, and they have all the money in the world. I guess this is like the scary thing with these big companies. Which is, I think, the fear people always kind of have with Microsoft, is when you're Amazon, the thing you make needs to make a shit ton of money for it to matter, because they make so much money on their bottom line that they don't care about something that like kind of just makes money or isn't pushing the needle and is a big hit, especially now with, I'm sure Amazon, when they see like Fortnite making its money, or they saw the success with Apex Legends, they wanted to hit everything they could, but they couldn't. And I know people have that fear because Microsoft makes so much money that, like, if Microsoft one day wants to pull out of the video game business, they could easily do that. Just immediately just be like, we're done. This isn't like, it's not making us $1 trillion billion, so who cares? And I think that's the fear that is more reasonable with Amazon, is because they make so much money that if something isn't a gigantic hit, it's going to go away. It's the Google problem too. Like everyone's just waiting for Google just to say like, we're bored with Stadia, and then just get rid of it, which we're already starting to see signs of with like them not including it in the new Chromecast.
Yeah, and I think like when you do something like right, when you do free to play right, and it slowly starts to grab, and that's usually how free to play games work. Like sometimes like you'll have Apex, which just hit the ground, and it hit the ground running, like it took off, and that did well, and you heard some success. And I was looking through Twitter today, and you talking about this reminded me of it, and I didn't know where the money was coming from, but a game like Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet today that on PC Gamer that says grossing over 100 million, Genshin Impact recoups development cost in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So like when it's something that's done correctly, because like I mean a couple of people that I know are playing Genshin Impact and they're having a good time playing with it, right? And it's a Breath of the Wild clone. It's anime Breath of the Wild, and people are spending money on waifu like on character looks, and you're seeing all this stuff, and
it's a gacha game too, so it's they're paying for roles to eventually do stuff.
So but people are having fun with the game, and since they're having fun with the game, they have no problem giving it 5, 10, 20, buying the battle pass, buying the $100 package that gets you guaranteed 5-star thing or whatever it is. And it just shows that if you make a game that's fun, you can make money. Yeah. And you can even release it for free. And Genshin Impact to me had no marketing. I mean, at least not to me. And it wasn't anything that I was seeing, on my Twitter feed or seeing people talk about or seeing sponsors for it or anything like that. It just kind of showed up, and I was like, and I saw like, like the first couple of days it was out, I saw 2 or 3 people on my friends list playing it. I'm like, what is this? And then, Johnny as a boy was playing it. I watched one of his streams and he was explaining it to me, and I was like, where's the money from this? And then, and then I started like looking a little farther into it. I'm like, oh, there's the money. Like, and there's a lot of money. And then now that they have the money, they're sitting there doing all the improvements that the player base wants. But if you don't have that core loop in the game, any game, whether it's $70, $60, $20 or free to play, if you don't have that gameplay loop, you're not going to get players. And apparently Crucible didn't have the loop, and they weren't trying to fix it, or weren't willing to fix it, or they couldn't figure out a loop that they wanted. Yeah,
I think what didn't help Crucible is they went in early access on one platform, PC. Early access when you're coming from like a billion-dollar company, like, because Amazon is the parent company. I know the developers themselves aren't a billion-dollar company, but when you're backed by a lot of money and you go in early access, that's already a red flag of like, you have the money to take your time and make this game and put it out complete, but they didn't. And then the basic stuff they were missing was just kind of ridiculous. They didn't have voice chat or like text chat in game, because they expect everyone to do it off Discord, which, as much as I use Discord, like even for PlayStation, I use Discord on my phone. I'm crazy. I'm willing to do those extra steps for a better thing. But when you're trying to get the general market into it, adding an extra layer of like, oh, get this game. Oh, you want to talk with your friends? Okay, download the Discord app. You already have it for sure. Like, you're just adding extra layers.
They made a lot of assumptions about players, like that, right or wrong. Obviously they were wrong, but you can even go back to like I've said for years of like BioWare not learning from Bungie, and Division not learning from Bungie, or Company A not learning from Company B. And you look at even years ago, like as soon as you said that, the first thing that popped in my head was like Killzone Shadowfall had no in-game chat, and the reason why it had no in-game chat is because it was a Sony exclusive company or a developer, and Sony's like, we have PS4 party chat.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It was like they wanted to leverage party chat.
Within like a month they fixed it, because the community is like, what the hell? Like they were upset about it, but they it was one of those things where Sony told Guerrilla, don't worry about that, like we've got that covered on our operating system, you don't need to do that. And then the player base is like, whoa, wait a minute, like I want to be able to talk to the guy that I'm not friends with. Yeah. And they're like, what? So it's just kind of and again, like how anybody can sit around the table at the Crucible development thing and say, hey, we're not going to have in-game chat. We're We're not going to have any way for you to communicate with the players in the game at all.
Yeah, not even text chat.
And think that that's okay.
Yeah. Because, yes, probably 90% of gamers on PC have Discord installed, but if you're trying to hit the mass critical market, you can't do that. But let's get off Crucible because it's dying now, so there's no point of talking about it. Just don't be surprised if Luna comes and goes. Like at this point, like Luna could come and go in an instant.
I might have to buy that controller just to sell in like 3 years as like an artifact or something.
Yeah, but you scrape off the sticker and you just see it's just a Switch controller because it just looks like the Switch Pro controller. So it's made by the same people. All right, let's get into like the thing that's probably going to eat up the most time. Our favorite thing, console next gen talk. We said last week, I hope Sony just does a video and they talk all about the system. We didn't get quite that, but we learned a ton of things about the PlayStation 5 in the past week, which is something both of us have been waiting for a long time to get information. This might not be the way you would want to get information, because I know you. I'm fine getting information this way, but there's still so much they need to say.
I watched it, so I mean, and I didn't turn the subtitles on. I didn't really care what the guy was saying. I just wanted to see it.
Yeah. So what Dave's talking about is, was it Tuesday? Sony put out a 7-minute video that was one of their engineers just disassembling a PlayStation 5. So we got to see the inside of the PS5. They did this with the PS4. The PS4 one, I think, was like over 10 minutes, like maybe like 15 minutes. This one's 7 minutes because holy shit, did they make this like kind of very accessible in terms of like taking apart compared to the other systems.
That's the first thing that I thought was, okay, like the first thing I thought was like, holy crap, this console is huge compared to the person that was opening it. It's his whole
torso.
Yeah. And then B, as they were taking it apart, I'm like, okay, this appears to be relatively easy to clean.
And that is the whole reason that it seems like they're doing it, because they put a lot of money into the stuff we're going to talk about. But yeah, the system is huge. We've heard jokes about it. We've seen the memes now of it, where they just kept making it bigger and bigger in the images that you would see. I needed a picture of this guy just outside of this like super clean room, just so I can know like how tall of a human being this is.
He's
just because
4'8".
Because this is alarmingly huge. I hope he is, because like I looked at that and then I'm just like looking at where I keep my consoles and I'm just like.
Well, like as an example, if this console is the size of my torso, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
Yeah. Because I was looking at my entertainment system and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to have to lay it horizontal. Fine. But I'm still going to have to make space for it. I can't fit this on my desk. I hope it's quiet because that shit is going to be sitting like right next to me.
As big as that fan is, it better be quiet.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. So the side panels are removable. And it looks like you don't even need a tool for it. I was a little scared when he did it. He's like, it's super easy to do. That you do see that plastic flexing.
Yeah, I was like, he's going to break it.
Oh my God, yeah. But it seems like it is no tools required, which means we're probably going to see, and it's meant to be taken apart. So I would hope.
Oh yeah, this has instantaneous, like different by $25, $30 side panels.
Oh, Etsy is going to be on fire with people with 3D printers.
Yeah.
The way he like forcibly like had to remove it, but the fact that they expect people to remove them makes me think that they put the engineering effort into it to make that sturdy. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense, because when I heard all those clips coming off, I'm just like, oh man, I would hate the first day I open that up and I just break one of the clips.
Yeah, because you're don't realize it was still caught or something.
Yeah. So it's easily accessible. As soon as you open it up, you see the expansion slot for the SD, which is nice. No screwdriver required at that part. Like the serial number or the warranty sticker isn't even a part of it yet. Mm-hmm. So you can just open up that console and then drop in NVMe SD in there, or M.2, sorry. And that seems really easy. The 812 gigabyte memory is soldered to the board, so there's no replacing that. It's an expansion slot for a reason.
So it's definitely in addition to, not in replacement of, like the PS3 and PS4 were.
Yeah. The system will have 2 dust collector spots, so 2 spots that they hope the fan will push all the dust to, that they say you can vacuum out. I do not like vacuuming electronics, so I'm just going to be using some tweezers or something to get any dust out of there. But it does seem like the way they've engineered this, they want you to clean that dust out. Like, they want you to make sure you are maintaining your system more so than they wanted to have you maintain your system previously. Because to get to the PS4 fan, it's a little bit of work, to get to the PS4 fan, because there is no, like, proper dust collectors on the PS4. So this one is definitely engineered with that in mind, which I appreciate as someone who is comfortable opening up their consoles. The fan is huge. It's a gigantic fan. It looks like it's taking air from like both sides of the system for the fan, which is good. And then they have the world's biggest heatsink, which they said mimics like a vapor chamber cooling system, which is pretty expensive, but they went heatsink because it's cheaper than to develop that. It's basically like the entire length of the console, and then it looks like it's like half. It's like the entire length and like half the width of the console is like this heatsink. But the thing that is like revolutionary in here, not revolutionary, but big deal for consoles, is the liquid metal replacing thermal paste.
Yeah.
Liquid metal is still relatively new in consumer products. They did engineer a special cover for the liquid metal, because if any of that leaks, the whole system's dead. Like, if that liquid metal leaks anywhere and touches that board, the board's dead. So they engineered something to take care of that, which hopefully it works. Talking with people that know a little bit more than me about this stuff, the only unknown with liquid metal is how long liquid metal like truly lasts in like a working.
How long liquid metal stays liquid?
Pretty much, like how long it stays viable, because thermal paste is trash and it goes away over time, which is why everyone's PS4 sounds like a jet engine, because eventually that thermal paste just disappears. Liquid metal should have a better early shelf life, but we don't know what it's going to be like 10-year, like console 10-year life cycle sort of thing.
My concern was too, and again, I don't really know enough about this, but like what happens if you leave your console off for like 6 or 7 months?
Like on?
And there's off.
What would be wrong?
Like the liquid, like won't it, like it, in terms of if nothing is like heating it up, like doesn't it start to like eventually kind of like, just if it sits in one spot and it doesn't like move or get any kind of heating element to it, doesn't it eventually settle?
Yeah, but they developed a casing specifically for it to where it should be evenly coated in that spot. So I don't think you have to worry about it like evaporating or solidifying or anything. Okay. So I'm assuming they must have taken that, because you have to imagine some of this stuff is going to be sitting in warehouses for a while in all sorts of orientation. So like it's not like a true like liquid that you can like see and shake up.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry too much about that.
It's just like the first thing that came to mind a little bit was, back in the, like the Game Boy days, if you left like batteries in your Game Boy, for a long time, like eventually they would start to like corrode a little bit in there.
Batteries in general will corrode or like lose their charge.
So I mean, I like I said, I don't know enough about it, but it's just one of those things that's like just interesting. Like if you put your console in storage and you have it like I don't even know, like in a storeway unit that's not like heated or like I just wonder, like, I mean, obviously that's not good for electronics in general, but it's just something that would be concerning. And then obviously like my biggest fear is like similar to, and again, they're two totally different things, but similar to like when the DualShock 4 thumbstick issue happened. If they have anything faulty with where this liquid metal is,
no, that's the problem. It's like if any of it like leaks out, like the whole system's trash. And also it means, so like currently with like PS4s, PS3s, if it starts to overheat, you can like if you're like handy enough, you could just replace the thermal paste yourself, which I did for a PS3 once. you can do that. Like, you just need some like rubbing alcohol to like wipe away like the residue of the old one, and you put new thermal paste on it, and it helps, keep the system cool again. You're not doing that with liquid metal. You're not doing that, but I guess that's a problem that is so small that they don't expect people to want to tinker too much with it. But it's definitely that component then kind of goes out of the hands of like the average like person who would
you're
tinker.
Not taking this to like I break, I fix place.
Exactly.
Break,
yeah. You're not like taking it to like a mom and pop shop necessarily to like clean up the board or trying to replace that, because it's not going to be a thing. But we heard about how they were trying to keep the pricing down, or like this was the big thing with Sony, is like they were spending a shit ton of money to keep this thing silent. And it is very evident that they have put a lot of thought into this, and they threw basically 3 different solutions in this system to like finally, hopefully take care of the sound issue. Will it be loud? Who knows? Will it actually feel cold or anything like that? We'll have to see. Some of the influencers that had the console last week in short sessions said it was quiet, but I'm more interested to know the people that always leave their console in rest mode.
Yeah. Well, and for the record, like I feel like PS4 was quiet at launch too.
Well, yeah.
And then over time, as games started pressing harder and harder on the console, which made it work harder and harder, which made it heat up sooner, which made the fans run more often, etc. A domino effect.
The thermal paste would evaporate or just like disappear over time. The games were more challenging to the processor, which the thermal paste is there to protect. So eventually that goes away, and then the games get overworked. Then that kicks the fan, and it's just a domino effect. They have 3 different solutions here, so hopefully that will lead to like a longevity, since neither solution is going to be doing all of the work. If that makes any sense. So a lot of thought went into this. I'm actually really happy about that. I'm happy about this whole teardown in general. Though I would kind of expect the teardown to be the last thing Sony did. This kind of kicked off Sony telling all the information that they can.
Right. I got a question though.
Yeah.
Before, because I think so. We saw the Blu-ray drive.
Yeah.
During the teardown, do you think my PS4 digital, I could get a custom cover made by Etsy or somebody, and I could find out what model Blu-ray drive is in there. And do you think that if I open up my PS4 digital, there's a port for me to plug a Blu-ray drive in?
I would assume yes. It's using the same board. It would have to be using the same board, because I don't see them developing two different boards.
Do you think that there's a way, if I chose to eventually, that I could possibly turn my PS5 digital into a PS5 physical?
Anything's possible, Dave. Anything's possible in this world. I would assume they're the same board. Whether like they capped or did anything to where the DVD drive would go into on that board, I don't know. But I'm guessing it's the same power supply. And I'm guessing it's the same board, because that would be just too much work to have to go through.
Yeah, I feel like everything's the same except for that one side plate is just fatter to support the Blu-ray drive. Which
I still don't know how I feel about like that weird bulge.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation.
I mean, I feel like they thought of a lot of things. Like the stand, what they were doing with the stand was cool, to where you took the stand off and you took the screw out and you rotated it, and when you rotated it like that, it allowed it to click onto the other side for it to lay horizontally. Hit the
screw if you weren't using it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of those things are there. Like the hard drive expansion appears to be very easy. I still would love some more clarification on what what drives are going to work. 100% are going to work, or not even that are 100% going to work. Like you mentioned, like ones that have the specs to run in line with the SSD that's built into the system, instead of just storage. And then you're not really, is it worth the extra $30 to get the one that has the correct speeds? Like, we don't know that yet. Yeah. So like that, I was very happy with that. And again, like just the showing the stuff, like that's fine. Like I was just more curious about the size of the console, how the hard drive went in, and how the hard drive was expandable, and I guess the maintenance aspect of it impressed me.
Yeah. Other things that came from this, there is a USB-C port, and then the USB-C or the USB-A ports, like the standard ones that most people know, they are the super speed ports, the blue ones, so they can handle a significant amount of data. That's something that the Xbox Series X doesn't have. They just have standard USB-A ports, no USB-C, and no super speed USB-A. So transferring data, so it means you're going to get better speeds and better transfers coming from like an external drive potentially when you hook up external drives to it.
What do we see? Two USB-As on the back and the USB-Cs are on the front?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then there's a standard USB as well. But I think that's where that adapter for the camera is going to go because you don't need anything fancy for that.
Right. So, I mean, this is nice where you can take your external hard drive for your PS4 games, like we're going to talk about in a second, plug it into the back of your PlayStation, kind of tuck it back there behind your console and have your digital PS4 library accessible on your PS5 and a USB port and not have to worry about messing with any of the ports in the front. So that's good, like in terms of like, because the Pro, I think, has one USB port on the back.
Yeah, one USB port on the back and then
two on the front. And my launch one, my regular PS4 has just two on the front. That's it.
Yeah, and then there's like the camera port, which is that proprietary
special port.
Yeah. So you'll at least get good speeds on that compared to the Xbox, which is just gonna have standard ones. Though the speeds that Xbox has been showing off, or all the influencers have been showing off, have been pretty good off an external drive.
Yeah, I'm not really that. I don't really feel like I'm that worried about it from an Xbox standpoint, just because the way that their backward compatibility is working, like it's just like it's the same infrastructure.
Oh yeah, no, it just made me feel better about Sony because like Microsoft, I know how stuff's working. Sony, at least with this, I'm like, okay, so at least the ports are going to be of the highest speed that they can be, which therefore should help with transferring data back and forth and potentially loading off an external drive in theory. So at least that is going for them. And then also the Wi-Fi 6 is on a PS5. Wi-Fi standards were all changed. So Wi-Fi 6 isn't like it's like the highest standard you can get now. They're basically future-proofing speeds over the course. Xbox is using, I think, Wi-Fi 5 standards, so Wi-Fi is going to be a little bit slower on the Xbox, but the speeds that Wi-Fi 6 has are speeds the average consumer doesn't have yet in their home, so it's just something that Sony, they kind of went all out with at least some of those features of just like, let's just give the best stuff we can put in this console, so in a couple years down the road, we're not like worried like, oh shit, we're bottlenecked somehow. So they future-proofed it from that aspect as well. So overall, I'm happy with how this teardown went. I still think it should have been the last thing we saw, before launch. But at least we got more information from Sony from this, and hopefully this starts a trend of getting more information from them as we are officially just 4 weeks away from that. And then the last thing, Sony put out a kind of a Q&A on their blog, or like a FAQ, and some of the highlights from it include just how you're going to access your PS4 games. They are going to update the store soon, and you will just see your PS4 games on the PlayStation Store, and it'll tell you if it works on a PS5 or not. Good news is most of them will. So there's that. Saves will just work the way they normally do. So if your saves are on an external drive or if they're in the cloud, when you're playing a PS4 game on the PS5, those saves are just going to transfer over without any sort of hassle from you, which is like a question I had like last week or 2 weeks ago of just how easy that is going to be. So your library is going to automatically transfer. It's up to the developers whether they want cross-save between a PS4 version of a game and a PS5 version of a game. So they're not going to enforce any sort of like your save needs to transfer between the two different versions of the game, which isn't too much of a surprise there. But at least they answered that question, as we're going to get a lot of games in the coming months that are going to be on both platforms. So that's taken care of. And then let's talk about backwards compatibility mode. So PlayStation 5 will have a Game Boost mode, which is going to offer improved stable frame rates. Some titles with unlocked frame rates or a dynamic resolution up to 4K may see higher fidelity. So basically, if the developer didn't cap the frame rate, like didn't set in the code the frame rate has to be a certain number, you might see increased frame rates. We're seeing this on the Xbox Series X, where some old games are running double frame rate or at least have stable frame rate. So we will see that on a PS5, which isn't too surprising, though.
This was kind of already happening on the Pro anyways.
Yeah, this was happening on the Pro, but we're seeing some crazy shit with how the Series X is handling backwards compatible games in terms of improving them. So yeah. Sony will also have that. We just don't know the extent of it. They said there's going to be more information later on. But I think games that were made exclusively for PlayStation 4, you might, I'm trying to word this correctly, you might see capped frame rates because they coded the game and built the game around the console structure, the console's architects, versus multiple platform games that, you know, if a game came to PC and PS4 and Xbox, to where the code, you know, like the console itself is what was stopping the frames at a certain point. Like, yeah, some companies will say, hey, our frames are locked at 30 on console because they have to be. And if they coded it to lock it at 30, then I don't know if you're going to get that much of a bump, if any, on PS5. You won't. But if they didn't, like you said, if they didn't code it to be locked at 30, it'll just go until the console can't handle it. Basically. And then it'll stop, or it'll start to fluctuate then. Yeah. So like Bloodborne we already know from software coded that game at 30 frames, though that game struggled to keep it at 30 frames. So we're just going to see a consistent 30 frames in theory for Bloodborne.
That's the example that I'm using, though, is that game was built from the ground up for PlayStation 4.
Yeah, they just can't flip a switch and it's going to be like better. But if it's uncapped, you're going to see consistency. I'm so happy with like the Series X stuff. So I'm been watching all the videos of just seeing how fast loading's going, how fast or like how much better the frame rate is going, especially on games that have had bad like frame rate issues. We already had Sucker Punch come out and say that Ghost of Tsushima will hit 60 frames on PS5, like without them having to do work. It's just going to have 60 frames on PS5, which if I remember, Ghost already had really good frame rate, but this is basically taking care of the dips that the game would occasionally have. Mm-hmm. So that's good to know. Apparently we're going to find out, so some PS4 games will be able to take advantage of the PS5's new user interface, but we'll get more details on that later. I'm guessing those are going to be some first-party games. They're going to take advantage of the PS5 features that are available, because that just makes the most sense, because who would have access to that? The first party developers. So we're probably going to see like God of War like use some more stuff, or like The Last of Us Part 2, which I swear is probably still getting a remaster.
I wouldn't be surprised if like Last of Us 2 maybe takes advantage of the DualSense controller somehow. Like you feel something happen, or God of War, like when you're doing the stuff with the spear, like if certain things like that where they just kind of go back through and start seeing some patches like for these games, like after the console releases or during the month of November, like if all of a sudden if God of War just gets a patch, like, okay.
Yeah. It would just make sense. And I think that's why we're going to hear about it later, because developers are probably just still tinkering and seeing how they can use all the different things that are now accessible to them. And the only developers I think that would even entertain messing with their old games for the new consoles are Sony first party. Just because it's a good way to experiment on whatever new thing they're going to be working on.
I bet it's almost everything in the PS Plus collection.
Yeah, that instant game collection thing or whatever they're doing. Probably a majority of those games will like take advantage of it somehow. And then they said PS Now will be there. Your PS Plus games will be there as well. So that's all pretty good.
So they listed like, 10 non-compatible games?
Yeah, I do have the list if you want the list. So of the 4,000 PlayStation 4 games, there's 10 games that will not be compatible unless the developer intervenes and does something. Those games are DWVR. I don't know what that is. I don't even know. Maybe I'm supposed to pronounce that. Dwarf? My favorite game, Afro Samurai 2 Revenge of Kuma Volume 1, which you can hear me talk about how much I hated that game in our Patreon episode from last month.
Isn't that game like fully delisted?
Yeah, that's what I was confused about. It was delisted, but someone brought up a good point. Someone might have an offline, hard drive. Like, there might be someone crazy enough.
I mean, I get it, but I mean, as soon as you plug that thing into the PS5, obviously now it's going to be like, nope.
No, that's it. Yeah, but like, they're at least telling people not to try, you know, because I'm sure there's someone who's got like a hard drive with Afro Samurai on it that they just refuse to like let touch the internet, but want to see if maybe it can hit 10 frames per second on PS5.
It's on a thumb drive.
Yeah, it's just there. They're like, man, what if it could double the frame rate to 10? Probably can't.
Jeez.
Dude, that game sucked. TT Isle of Man Ridge on the Edge 2. It's a racing game. Just deal with it. Shadow Complex Remastered, which I thought was just kind of crazy because I think it was just re-released through like one of those like limited run games or something like that, and it's not that old of a remastered, so that seems weird. That's Epic, I think, still, so maybe it could be fixed, or I think Epic published it. Robinson the Journey, which is another game that I was like, oh, was kind of popular in like VR.
VR, yeah. That's like, but that game made people sick.
It did, but people still liked it, from what I remember. We Sing, which is probably a licensed game that they just won't even bother. Hitman Go Definitive Edition.
Mobile game.
Yeah, it was good, but I wonder if that's one of those.
It's probably just mobile based. It just doesn't work on the PS5's archetype.
No, what I think it is, that might just be one of the Hitman games that fell through the ether when IO separated from Square Enix. So I don't know whose job it would be to fix that.
Square's pointing at IO, IO's pointing at Square.
Yeah, like we want to do it.
Meanwhile, the guy that made the game doesn't work for the company anymore.
Yeah, he left. Shadwin and Joe's Diner. So those, unfortunately, are the games that will not work on the PS5. I'm really happy with how backwards compatibility ended up turning out, because they made it sound way scarier before.
Both of these pieces of information that we got this week are fantastic. What would have been more fantastic if we would have saw it in July or August before pre-orders.
Yeah, and with the backwards compatibility stuff, I understand that they were in a process of testing all these 4,000 games, whichever method they had to do that. But when Sony first said, just saying the top 100 games we know will be compatible or will have some sort of like enhancements, was just confusing wording. Like, I don't care.
But again, just transparency though. Like, release this verbiage that you just released in June, in July, in August, and say, we are continuing to test games. Check back here, and we will let you know. And it's just watch the list grow.
As of
similar to like what Xbox has been doing. And again, I hate to compare it to them, but it's their competitor. But when they first rolled out the backwards compatibility, they said, all right, I don't even remember what the number is, but here's 300 games. We know 110% they work. And every other week, like, we're continuing to run these games and upscale these games. And we're going to add anywhere from 5 to 15 games a month for the next, X amount of months.
They wouldn't even have to name them. They could just once a week have put 1,000 games have been confirmed compatible. 2 weeks later,
1,500.
Yeah. And just done that. But I'm happy with how this ended up coming out. I'm not going to miss any of these.
Some of this stuff that they've showed this week, though, would or could push people over the edge to okay, I like that feature. Thank you for finally talking about it. I want to get a PS5. Goes to get their PS5. Gone. They can't get it now, but they were waiting on certain information of the hard drive could have been a deal breaker for them. The rumored 600 gigs of space is scary.
Yeah, and I wish they would have came out and said something about
The other thing that's a little concerning in here concerning / fascinating in this blog post is that the PS5 camera will not work as a PSVR support right now.
Without the adapter.
PS5 camera.
Oh, okay. You need the PS4 camera to match up.
You need the PS4 camera to work PSVR.
Okay.
So that it almost leads me to question what do you need the PS5 camera for? Not for streaming?
No, probably streaming.
Okay, because I don't think you need it with the new Astro game, because that's coming packaged with the PlayStation, and the PlayStation is not coming with the camera.
Yeah, you don't. It's probably just for the streaming.
Yeah,
for now. So
that's like kind of a weird accessory to have at launch. I mean, I guess that's what it was used. Well, it wasn't only used for that for the PS4 launch, because it had the Astro. There was the controller game that used the camera and everything.
It was for Astrobot to stream your porno and to stream your video game stuff.
Right.
You remember how bad life with PlayStation was.
Yeah. It is a little weird that this better, what we believe to be a better PlayStation camera, isn't currently compatible with the PSVR. It's a little weird. And then also we still don't know how to get your adapter for your PS4.
Yeah, which camera. They haven't just like omitted that line. I know. But that was one of those things I would just expect Sony or just any major company to just not mention the adapter.
Yeah, but my biggest problem with that right now is that there are consumers in this world that need to sell or trade their PS4 to get a PS5.
Yeah.
Like financially they need to do so. So now they could more than likely give their PS5, sell it, and without that adapter, they won't be able to play their PSVR until Sony provides that adapter to them.
Or you just find out it's some cheap little adapter you can get online, and then you end up getting it, because I don't even know how long to get the free adapter is going to really be.
Right. But that is I've never seen a port like that. The PS4 camera.
Yeah. Because it's not just like the USB...
It's not a printer cable port.
Yeah,
or anything.
The printer cable. I was trying to figure out what that cable's called. I was like, USB-B?
Yeah. So I mean that's the part that's a little concerning to me. I love the fact that this is what we've been asking for them to do for months, and I like that they've done this. I don't like that they've done it after pre-orders have gone live already. If I have any qualms about it, is that's a little concerning. Not concerning to me, but a little annoying to me that it took so long for them to do that. And all while, to your point, like we've been talking about, is that this is Sony controlling the messaging, and at Microsoft's like, okay, here you go. You want an Xbox? Like you have a decent follower. Like here's an Xbox. And
they are still embargoing people to hell. But we have seen like Alana Pierce has a good YouTube video where it shows like loading up games. And in her video, she shows that the Xbox crashes like 4 times in a 10-minute video trying to load old games. Yeah. That stuff's in the wild, which I appreciate. That stuff is in the wild. So Microsoft's embargoing people to hell, but that stuff is still getting out. That like backwards credibility doesn't work that well sometimes.
And she's also the one that's like talking about, like, everybody's like, oh, what's the resume feature? Like a big deal. I retweeted her today where she's stated that she turned her Xbox off. She was playing a game and she turned her Xbox Series off, and it was off for multiple days. And then she didn't put it in rest mode. She turned it off, and then she turned it back on, and the game was just there.
Yeah.
Like that's huge. If you're one of those people that, like, let's say you only play Madden or you only play Call of Duty, or like one of the things that sucks right now about Destiny is that it takes. I mean, playing upstairs playing Destiny on my son's PS4 Slim, like, I could probably make toast in the time it takes for that game to load up.
The loading screens are going to be kind of non-existent on the Xbox Series X or PS5. So
yeah, but I think that even the resume feature would eliminate the boot up parts that are still, like, I've seen Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio. He put Division 2 in on the Xbox. It was fast, but it was still a thing.
Yeah,
it wasn't non-existent. Yeah.
You just have to also remember, though, like, Call of Duty probably won't work because it connects to an online server. Yeah, so those games are still going to be a problem, but there's no way around that. But at least you can get past all the logos, especially.
But like a game like Madden, like somebody that continuously is playing Madden, like, or playing a franchise mode, or they only have 45 minutes to play a game, they're not going to be wasting time like completely booting the game back up.
Yeah, how many games of sports games have you just closed out and you're in the third quarter? Like, that happens, where you're just like, shit, I got to go do something. And you just have to, like, all right, I guess I'll do this game all over again. Quick resume, which I want to see that stuff. I think Burger King is teasing the PS5 UI. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter earlier.
I saw something. Yeah.
So they might be teasing the PS5. They're probably doing a giveaway, but people are thinking they're going to be the ones to reveal the UI. I hope that's not the case because it's fucking crazy.
It's terrible. Yeah,
but
just give away the console for buying a Whopper or whatever. Don't be the company that you type this code in off your drink to see the UI. Like, I don't want that.
But it sounds like we're this week, probably by the time this comes out on podcast feeds, we'll probably have at least a glimpse of the UI or something, because it seems like we are finally in that thing of every week we're going to learn something new about the PlayStation. And hopefully it's all good news like this week.
The UI matters to me, but what more matters to me is like how these features are going to work, like how party chat's going to work. Does it support Discord? Like that's some of the things that are more interesting to me. Like PS4 to PS5 party chat, is that going to be a thing? Like, which I think it has to be. But
no, it is.
Yeah, those are those are the things that I'm more interested in seeing, of like how are those going to work, like versus like what do the tiles look like? Like, I don't really care.
Well, so it's not necessarily I care about the tiles, but I have enough games, humble brag, a couple hundred PlayStation 4 games. My PS4 UI sucks. Like, those tiles load in real slow, and the very limited number of tiles you have. I think
that's the drive, though, man. Like, that's your hard drive.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I want to see what, like, the UI looks like with the new SSD technology that's in it. Not new.
Well, what do you think the Game Hub is?
What do you mean? What's the Game Hub?
So they used that word when they were. So some of the stuff that you didn't really get into with the backwards compatibility stuff is that the DualShock 4 will work on PS5.
Yeah, the DualShock 4 will work out
with PS4 games.
Yeah.
And it said in the blog post that you load into the Game Hub, into the Games Hub, to act. And I'm assuming that you're going to load into a different. I feel like you're going to load into a different interface to play PS4 games. Well,
not a different like user interface, but you might see the PS4 logo. Like kind of like, have you seen how the Xbox compatibility works, where it'll give you the Xbox 360 flash screen, like the.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not loading a new UI. You're just gonna.
No,
load
but I think you're gonna go into somewhere else that it's going to tell the console that you're in the PS4 part. So in order for it to like identify your DualShock 4, for it to look for your DualShock 4, because what's interesting is like, I don't remember if they said it or not in the article, but like, will DualSense work on a PS4 game?
Will DualSense work? I'm guessing it will, because it's the same controller. It just won't have any of the additional features. But yeah, I guess your concern is how the PS4 controller handles in the PS5 UI. If technically the PS4 can't play PS5 games, like, will it be able to navigate the menu, or do you think it's going to go into a separate menu?
Yeah, I just have a feeling you're going to have to pick up a DualSense, turn your PlayStation 5 on, load into something else, load into the Game Hub, like Gus put it in chat, like a PS4 sub menu, load into that sub menu, and then eventually you'll have to pick up your DualShock 4.
Or you keep using your DualSense. I don't see them having. No, you're going to be able to use your DualSense. Like, they're not going to have you swapping controllers, because remember, the PS4 games are accessible just from the PlayStation 5 store, so they can't assume everyone has a PS4 controller. Right. So, like,
good point.
You don't have to worry about that. So I don't know if it's going to be too much about a hub, but I can see like it popping up like a sub-menu.
It's a hub. They called it in the article. They called it a games hub,
like a sub menu. I would hate if it's an icon that says PS4 that I click in and then I see my little library of PS4 games. But I do hope like the library thing has more options for me. You know, currently in a PS4, when you go to the end, you go in the library, you can see your purchases installed, subfolders, and all that stuff. I hope it's a little cleaner than that, because that's messy with just PS4 games. We're going to a new console that will have PS4 games and PS5 games that will eventually grow out. So they need to find that stuff. So that's what I'm most interested in seeing next, is like UI stuff. Just because I want to know how I'm interfacing. Parties are going to be the same fucking thing. Like, they're going to same interface. There's only so much ways you can change like party chat. Yeah. And the trophy stuff will look mostly the same.
Except for you have like a higher score now.
You have a higher score now, which I didn't even look at mine because I just don't care. Which makes sense though, because I guess people that are super into trophies have been stuck at the same level.
I didn't realize that people were stuck at 99. Like,
yeah, like the hardcore
I never
people
get.
were.
I never get that. I never get that far.
Yeah, I've been like stuck at level 20, I think, for like a year now. So that's why I didn't even put that in the news, because I'm just like,
In the Facebook group, I'm like, why? And I guess more or less when I said why like that, it was more okay. Like, hey, we got a console coming out in 30 days. We really haven't talked about backwards compatibility. We really haven't talked about like how your games are, like what the user interface is going to look like. But we're going to talk about trophies, and I'm like, really?
There's enough people that love it that is like probably the top of their list. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what somebody was like. It was a most requested feature, and I guess like at this point in time, like I get it, but like trophies are a big deal. It's a just like your gamer score on Xbox, like it's a huge thing. But 30 days before your next gen console launches, I just don't think that was something you needed to be talking about at that current time.
I feel like that one was an easy get for them because they keep that master list of like the most requested features. It's on the PlayStation site or whatever on the blog. I think it's still a section. Those are the easy ones that they're like, fuck it, we can take down like one of the things in the top 10 that is like super easy for us to take care of.
Well, I still remember that one E3 where they like talked about the user interface and the updates to the firmware that they were doing, and then the press conference ends. And we're all looking at Twitter, and they're like, "Holy crap! They just like said all that you can play your own music now." I'm like, "Why did they say that on stage?"
Yeah,
like it's just like, and then now they're like, "Hey, we know you're like really wanting to get info about your PS5, but here's how trophies are gonna work." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Also, I'll just add real quick. They announced that PSP, PS Vita. Games
PS3
and PS3 are being
PS3,
removed.
PS Vita, PSP you can
PS
only
TV.
buy on the device.
Yeah. So they're getting rid of the stores, access on the mobile and the PS3 store. So, yep. Good luck navigating, because the mobile thing was the thing that saved me from when I would access the PS3 store. This pretty much
tells me, and most of you that have listened to me long enough know that I'm a statistic guy, and we just talked about it with Crucible a little bit. This pretty much tells me that people are not buying shit on those three systems.
Yeah, and it just makes it easier because as they're cleaning up the mobile site, because they're going to add a new console, you kind of want to clean it up as much as you can, especially with the new store launching. So it definitely sucks for Vita users and PS3 users because the stores on the PS3 and Vita are trash. They are garbage, just because they're, it's old running like a newer store. Yeah. So it's a terrible time. But they have to do it, Be happy they're doing this and not just shutting down the store altogether.
Yeah.
which is probably coming.
Which is coming in the next 12 to 15 months.
Yes.
Step one.
Back up your hard drives.
Josh, you better start alphabetizing all your different drives, buddy. You better get on the store and download your games now.
Yeah. Gotta do that now.
All right. So I think that's it for news. So again, really good stuff from PlayStation finally 30 days before launch. Thank you. Now I would just really like to see somebody with the console. Somebody actually that's just at this point in time, I want to see somebody, an influencer, a streamer, I don't even know, I can't think of their name right now, but Digital Foundry, let them do a video of holding a camera, clicking the button to turn the system on, hear it turn on, hear it boot up, show the UI and load a game. Really, at this point in time, I feel like they should just show that, and hopefully they will.
Yeah.
I'm not saying move around in the user interface. I'm not saying any of that stuff. It's just click, and here's a game. Here's Spider-Man Miles Morales loading up to the menu screen. I think that if they did that, they would hold control of the internet for a day again. So.
Oh yeah, it would be all over the place.
All right, so what we're playing and watching? What you got?
For me, it's really light just because work's been kind of crazy, and we're in that weird period before console launch where there's kind of nothing to play. So I played the Call of Duty Cold War beta this weekend.
I have that, and I didn't play it.
I forgot about it, and then
Palmer gave me a code, so he was he got a code from PS Lifestyles, and he gave it to me, and I'm like, oh, we should play on Sunday, and I didn't play with him at all.
I found out super late on Sunday that Comcast sent me a code. Because Comcast were giving all the Comcast users codes. So I checked my email Sunday. I'm like, fuck it. Let me just play a couple rounds.
Because you didn't play the alpha, right?
No, I didn't play the alpha at all.
Okay, so this is cool. So I played the alpha but didn't play the beta. Which I still think was going on today. I could have played today.
I could have played as well. It's Call of Duty.
Very Battlefieldy, though.
Yeah, the maps are bigger.
Are huger.
Yeah. The gameplay feels slightly different than Modern Warfare. Not too much. Not necessarily different, bad or good. It just feels just a little bit different. So you can definitely feel that it's different developers. But I did actually I did pretty well in a couple of rounds. I was kind of proud of myself because I haven't played
against all those other Comcast people.
Yeah, we all came in on Sunday. No, because so typically when I take a break from Call of Duty, I am fucking atrocious and terrible.
Because your reflexes go down, you're not warmed up or anything. Yep.
Yeah, luckily I played a couple matches and I was like, okay, I'm doing, like, I wasn't the best player in the game, but I was like doing pretty good at like winning games for my team. It feels good. I mean, they haven't revolutionized Call of Duty. Like the perks pretty much work the same way. Guns were whatever guns they are. Yeah,
we got the kill streaks and stuff kind of back, which some people love, some people hate. That's a love-hate thing. The score streaks. Streaks.
Which they've been in every game in different iterations, so it's just like it's not that different than previous games. So I played it. It was fine. It's not on my list. Like, I loved Modern Warfare. I loved Warzone, but this isn't on my list for whatever reason to like get next gen or.
And I still think that with Warzone existing and continuing to exist, as a free to play model with connection to Modern Warfare, and I'm guessing connections to the Black Ops to Black Ops. It'll be one of those things where if you decide later to pick it up, you won't feel behind, because I'm sure that some of the weapons that you earn in Warzone will work in Black Ops, and some of the weapons you earn in Black Ops will work in Warzone.
They'll definitely add stuff to it.
I feel like with Warzone existing, it does have to take, even if it's a small chunk, but a chunk out of new game sales. Yeah,
day one people are gonna be like, well, I'm still having fun with Warzone. And chances are I will download.
And I still think Modern Warfare needs to continue to have seasons because it's doing well. I just don't want to see them stop.
Well, especially with like the free content people are playing. Though I can see. I wonder what the numbers are between Modern Warfare players and Warzone players, like what that difference is. But yeah, on day one with the PS5, I'm gonna download the atrocious 170 gig like Warzone or whatever, or Modern Warfare.
Well. And my biggest problem with the alpha for Black Ops when I was playing it was I said Battlefield-y, but I played a ton of Battlefield 4. I played a lot of Battlefield 5. Like when I would go into play those games, like I would go into with the expectation of like vehicles and big maps and long lanes, and when you'd play Call of Duty, it would be a little bit more of a close quarters feel, and I don't feel like Black Ops has that close quarter feel to it right now. It, like the tighter hallways and the alleys and, like fighting in the towns versus big open areas. Like it looks great and it played fine, but it just didn't feel like COD to me. And it just felt like, I guess it did feel like Call of Duty, but it's just like, when I'm playing Call of Duty, like I don't want to get in a vehicle to go to capture another point. Like I just want it to be a more closed in compact map.
Yeah, and I didn't even kind of realize how big they were until later on. Probably because I'm just so used to playing on Warzone. So I'm used to having this like gigantic space to play in, so it didn't even like dawn on me how much larger they were. Especially if you get like the team deathmatch mode. It's pretty basic or pretty small. But yeah. So played that. And then Fall Guys Season 2. Hit last week, so jumped into that. My friends were all playing Genshin Impact. I had to pull them away for that to play Fall Guys. I play Fall Guys on a Pro and a regular PS4, depending on what time of day it is. They patched in 60 frames on the PS4 version, which is really nice, and they added different textures and a little bit of more effects on it, so the game looks a lot better, especially on like the baseline PS4. So much so it almost felt weird playing it at 60 frames. I saw like a
grab mechanic now too, right? Where you can actually like mantle.
Yeah, you can like pull yourself on if you hold the button long enough. So they've added new things to it. And one thing I love that they did is they have all the Season 1 modes, but then they also have remixed versions of those modes or those maps or whatever, those games, whatever you want to call them. And then they have their new, games or modes. in there, and they're all just mixed in with an entire episode. So there's so much more variety to where, I played like a 2-3 hour session, and I didn't have the problem I was having towards the end of season 1 where I'm just like getting kind of fatigued playing the same like set of matches or whatever in a specific episode.
There's like 14 people left. I know what game we're playing now. Oh, there's 8 people left. I know what we're playing now.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, we're probably gonna do the DoorDash one now, or it's just there's a lot more variety with it, and I like the new stuff they added. New costumes are pretty cool. The new menu music is like just a slightly remixed version of the
season's supposed to be like medieval, right?
Yeah, they have like the castle fantasy stuff part of the new maps. I really like it. I don't know if it's going to pull me into Fall Guys like it did when it first came out. Like I played 3 hours one day and I played an hour the other another day. But I don't think it's quite, especially with Genshin Impact taking like friends away. Like I don't know if like I'm going to put in a shit ton of hours into Fall Guys Season 2, but it's definitely not going to disappear entirely for me. It's going to just be a game that I just have that if I want to play a game randomly, I can do that.
It is cool to see though, like them like putting 60 frames in there and adding some more stuff. So you're seeing the benefits of PS Plus, and then obviously it being on Plus, which with it getting a good user base, people enjoying it, possibly or most definitely now spending money since the developer was able to spend more money to make improvements on the game to hopefully grab the audience again, even if they're only grabbing them for the first 2 or 3 weeks of every season. Like that might be more than enough for them.
Yeah, and then we're already seeing partnerships today. They announced a Sonic the Hedgehog costume that looks like a nightmare for the game. So we're going to start seeing like partnerships, but it's like intentionally. So so we're going to start seeing those partnerships go in. I mean, they had a bunch of indie like game costumes pop in or the first season. So we're going to probably see even more partnerships like that pop in throughout the course of this season. So it's definitely going to keep it fresh. And it's still, Among Us kind of knocked it down a few pegs on Twitch, but it's still hovering in like the top 20 on Twitch. So I don't think it's going to go away for a little while, though I still think their seasons are too long, but we'll see how much extra stuff they can keep down the road.
I think 4 seasons in a year is enough for a developer, though. So like it's almost like one of those things where you either say it's going to be a 60-day season with a 30-day break, or it's 90 days, Yeah,
personally for me, I think people were able to cap it already within like the first like 72 hours. People they hit their cap, but they also were crazy and played like 30 hours of the game in the 72-hour period. So hopefully it can keep its momentum going, and I'll still check it out from time to time. Overall, that's it for playing. Haven't really watched too much. I'm watching the Nexium documentary on HBO about the cult stuff. Been watching a ton of that because as a Smallville fan who wants to rewatch Smallville, it's really hard to when one of the actresses is a leader of a sex cult. So been watching that to convince myself not to watch Smallville again. And just random scary movies still with Sarah. Watched Girl on the Third Floor starring CM Punk, which was weird movie, but also weird to see CM Punk dressed like a human being and not like a wrestler all the time. And then watched What Keeps You Alive, which is really good. It's probably my favorite thing that I've seen this month. So still building my list as I like rank all the movies that I've seen.
And we'll title that list "Movies that Dave will never watch."
Yeah. Unless we have to, Dave. Unless we have to. So that is it for me. So pretty light week.
For me, so I started vacation on Saturday. Kind of did the thing where I felt like my body was like, "Oh, you're on vacation," and just like shut down, like for like 2 days. So
every day off for me.
But did watch some stuff with Angela and I did watch some stuff. So we watched Peanut Butter Falcon with Shia LaBeouf, which was pretty good. It was kind of like a story of him, the character that he played, becoming like attached to and really good friends with a kid with Down, or like a young adult with Down syndrome, as they're kind of like traveling to an area. So that was fun. It was I think it won some awards for like South by Southwest. So like my wife's like, hey, we watched like an artsy movie. We actually kind of liked it. We watched
so uncultured.
We also watched Gemini Man with Will Smith.
That's more like Dave and Angela.
Yeah. And again, I Will Smith is an actor, so this was based on.
He's an actor.
Will Smith movies. I enjoy almost all of Will Smith's movies. This one was like he's like an elite army assassin that gets tricked into killing somebody, I believe. And then he finds out that he's being hunted because he's being hunted by his former boss who made a clone of him. And so it's both the villain or the one assassin that's chasing Will Smith is Will Smith. So like,
did they fall in love?
No.
Damn, missed opportunity.
It definitely had some like interesting, camera work because it's the same character playing two different characters, and the same person playing two different characters. I'm sorry, and then just some of the action scenes and the fight scenes were interesting. The movement of the characters. How many frames
did you watch it in?
I don't know.
So that movie, when it came out in theaters, the director wanted to release it in 60 frames per second, and it was very controversial because movies are usually 24 frames per second. So I just want to know, did you end up watching?
I could definitely see there was a certain point in times where certain fight scenes were happening where I was like, there's something weird going on here. And I kind of just chalked it up to it was their ability to try to do camera work of the same. They were worried about showing both of them at the same time. So I'm assuming that I watched it, like, I think through Amazon Prime or through Hulu. So
you probably watched the 60 frames brought down to 24 frames. So that was probably why. Yeah.
That makes more sense now. There was a couple, and again, just from the amount of video games that I play, I see certain things where it looked like it was blurry or tearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I was like, and I kind of just chalked it up to like they're having a hard time with, trying to keep two Will Smiths on the screen. Like,
no, they're literally, when the movie came out, there was only like a dozen theaters you can see it the way it was shot, because not every theater can do 60 frames. Every theater is set for 24.
My wife's like, when we watched it, my wife's like, after the end of the movie or whatever, during the movie, she looks it up. She's like, this movie just came out last year. I'm like, so? She's like, why is it on Amazon Prime already? I'm like, I don't know. It probably didn't do that well. And
no, that's why. Like, because it was just like a weird thing where the director was like, you need to see it in 60 frames. And then people would be like, okay, I can't see it in 60 frames, so I'm just not going to see it.
Yeah. So, I didn't hate it. Like, it was just kind of one of those things where it's like, all right, like I watched it, it was fine. So like that, those are the two like main things that I watched. I was gonna ask you as well. Your White Sox don't have a manager right now,
and a pitching coach, which it's an end of an era. Because Don Cooper has been with them for 18 years. So he's gone, but he's one of those old timers that like the game is going in a completely different direction. So
yeah, he's not analytics.
No, he's not. He's not analytics, and he's
all right. So
multiple people pull out their arms. So
yeah, let me ask you a question, because I know we had this conversation months and months ago before the baseball season started, and I follow baseball much more closely than you do. You follow
I only
the White
follow
Sox.
one team. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who the leading candidate to be your manager is?
AJ Hirsch.
Hinch.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
He's a former player, right?
No, he's the Astros manager.
Oh, he's the Astro manager. I'm fine cheating if like
he's the Astro manager that got fired because of the cheating scandal.
Yeah, like
which is fascinating that the Astros are in the Final Four of the baseball of the World or the playoffs right now, and they might go to the World Series as cheaters.
The funny thing is fans want Ozzie Guillen, he won the World Series as the manager in 2005. Uh-huh. But the owner knew that was going to be a thing, so apparently when they fired Renteria, he called Ozzie right away saying, "You're not getting this job."
Right.
Like, we are not going to even look at you.
And the other thing too is like Major League Baseball has had to come out and tell, because he's AJ Hinch and Alex Cora both came from the Astros organization, both got suspended and got fired by their respective teams.
And Cora was a former White Sox bench coach, so he's also the leading character.
So, but MLB had to come out and say you can't talk to these or announce any of these stuff until the season's officially over, which is not over until after the World Series. So November 1st to the 5th is going to be very interesting because, like, the Tigers also, like, parted ways with their manager. He retired, and AJ Hinch and Alex Cora are both on the short list as well with young talent development for the Tigers. So it's really interesting to, like, where these guys are already, because they're starting, and Houston doing well is only just showing that, like, the only thing they were doing was making a great team even better. So by doing what they were doing, I just thought that was really interesting. I watched football. I watched some college football. The Lions had a bye week this week, so they couldn't lose. And then
somehow they did, though. It was super weird.
Yeah. And then I dabbled a little bit in Destiny. The Halloween event started, so I was kind of messing with that and trying to get some other things done in Destiny, just as we're getting closer to the Beyond Light coming out. I am talking to Chandler about the possibility before Beyond Light launches of doing something else audio-wise for Destiny again. I know a lot of you guys seem to like the episode that Chandler and I recorded, so it might be something we do just to kind of pick up, as we get closer to launch of that new expansion. And then today, I finally decided to, like, really start digging into Game Pass, and I decided to play Ori and the Blind Forest. And I'm like, I played it for like 4 hours already today, and I streamed it, so it's on the past broadcast. I'll probably stream it a little bit more this week. I was having fun. Like, it's really good looking, and it's a very beautiful looking game with the backgrounds and the foregrounds and how the stuff works. And then I'm getting a lot of, and this is one of the ones that I most recently remember, but I'm getting a lot of, like, kind of like Guacamelee vibes from it in terms of the platforming and the moving. The thing that's also interesting and frustrating at the same time is you can save anywhere, like, as long as you have, like, enough energy in the game. Mm-hmm. Like, as you collect energy, and you can just, like, hold down B and or A or whatever it is on Xbox, and just make a save point anywhere. There also are regular save points in the game, but I can see where the mechanic is helpful as long as you remember to do it, because there are, like, a couple things that I was working on that are, they involve, like, jump and grapple and grab a wall and jump and, like, fight something and then jump again and grapple and launch yourself off an enemy. Oh, you died. Okay, go all the way back to where the last time you saved. But I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I've heard, great things about the game. I know it won some Game of the Year awards at one point in time when it first came out. So it's the definitive edition is on Xbox, which I'm not really sure what that, on Game Pass, which I'm not really sure what that entails that's on there, but I could definitely see myself trying to get through this. I don't know how long it is, but the story that they're trying to tell, it definitely it's fun, it's interesting, and it's the gameplay is addictive enough that it's grabbing my attention enough right now to where I'm like, I'm actually looking forward to playing this tomorrow. So I was playing a little bit before we recorded, and I streamed some today as I brought my Xbox downstairs. I guess I could have played it on my PC, but I don't always remember what's on PC or not on for Game Pass wise. So now that I have my Xbox back, I just brought it back downstairs and trying to play a little bit more and stream some of that stuff. So yeah, because I'm really tempted to start. For some reason, I've been thinking about it, and I'm really tempted to start Spider-Man, and I don't want to, because it's going to be so much better on PS5.
Same. I want to replay Spider-Man. Also, I was thinking of picking up Ghosts of Tsushima, and
yeah, I'm gonna wait now too.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Like, I already know it runs really well, and the loading screens are actually really minimal on PS4, but I might as well get the best experience possible. And, like, I was gonna actually pick up the Avengers as well, but then I'm just like, the Avengers load screens are terrible. Fuck it, I'm just gonna wait till PS5 to just play it and get the improved load screens. And
yeah, which I'm happy that I have I'm happy that I have Avengers digitally.
Yeah.
So it should just work better. Yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to, it's October. I didn't realize, like, Watch Dogs comes out like in 2 weeks. So.
And then Red Dead. I was thinking, like, maybe I'll play Red Dead because there's nothing new coming out right now. But then I saw all the loading screen videos on on YouTube for the Xbox. And I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna wait for Red Dead as well. Like December, I'll just play catch up because I want to record some Game of the Year thing. So I need to play Ghost and Avengers, to properly do that. But it's like shit. I might have time to play Red Dead, even though that was last year, but I still want to play Red Dead.
Yeah. So, but that's it for playing and watching for the most part. I'm gonna try to play some more stuff this week, and we're gonna try to just do some. We're getting ready for 1 year for DDG. We're getting near the end of the year, so I know that we're gonna try to do some catch up stuff to make our lives a little easier as we get into like our busy time for us and for you guys. And it's very important for us to spend time with our families around the holidays, especially if it's all possible for us to spend time with our family this holiday. And we just don't want there's certain things that Michael and I just want to get taken care of as we get near the end of the year. So your guys' like support and being there and always working with us has always been fantastic. Whether we record late or the episodes, I don't think we've missed a Thursday, which is just fascinating to me. Yeah, that we haven't, like no matter what, and kudos to my wife. She's been up late on a Tuesday evening finishing the podcast, so it's ready for Patreon, and then it's ready to go on Thursday. And then we've had other situations where we're like, hey, we're just gonna, we recorded this already, and we're gonna use this, and here it goes, and it's been great. And you guys have always been fantastic about that. So, but yeah, that's it for playing and watching for me. So. We are going to get into some of our questions and comments. Stefan Wren on Facebook, in the Facebook group. If you had to drink one beer for the rest of your life, what would it be, and why is it not Budweiser? I don't drink a lot of beer. And the random times that I do drink it when I'm at home, it's usually like a Bud Light. But if I had to drink one in terms of one that I drank that I'm like, hey, this actually tastes really good, it was when I was in Wisconsin, and it's Spotted Cow.
I think beer is icky. So I don't know what that is. Sounds like some craft beer thing, and I know that's really popular. Craft beer.
I don't know what's in it or not in it. I just know that I enjoyed how it tasted. I've tried like blueberry beer or like fat tire beer or flat tire beer, like all these other funky names, and IPAs, and like if I go to a restaurant that's serving like if we go to like a steakhouse or something and we decide, my wife's like, you should really get a beer, and I usually will just rely on the wait staff of like, hey, I'm gonna order this, like what should I get, and they usually make a recommendation. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I the only like drinks that I like, cider, like Angry Orchard. I like White Claw. That's seltzer. And then beers, like when I'm at like an event and like they're just like, what beer do you want? And I'm like, do you have anything other than beer? And they're like, no. Heineken, and only because they have the least annoying commercials. So that's like that's my minimum is like, how annoying are their commercials? Because to me, all beer tastes the same and it's all disgusting. So I'm like, okay, Heineken is the least annoying one. And it comes in a green bottle, so people don't see the contents, the fact that I've been babysitting the same beer for 7 hours when I'm at an event.
I'll tell you what, Stefan's teased that he tends to come to Chicago periodically, and obviously he's talked about coming to Chicago once this pandemic is over, so like 2025. But I'll tell you what, Stefan, like when you come to Chicago, I will make the trip to Chicago, and you can teach Michael and I what good beer is or isn't.
Yeah, if bars exist eventually in the future, sure. Go to Wrigleyville, get into a fight. Yeah. All
right, Matt in the Facebook group. So he wants the top 50 games of all time for episode 50. No.
Let's go.
Or he said, okay, instead, let's hear your top 5 games that you love and miss, but would most likely regret playing again. In no particular order, he wrote General Chaos, which is for the Mega Drive, GoldenEye N64, Tekken 4, Worms 3D on the PS2, and Halo. Well, for me, having just recently played the first Halo, I didn't hate it, but it's also like I never played it before. So I was enjoying that. I think I had a couple games in my head, and for some reason I've started to forget some of them. I definitely can't name 5. So like the first one is like Super Mario 3, and because I seem to know so many secrets about Super Mario 3 that I just kind of want to get through the game as fast as possible, and then the world progression is annoying to me now. The couple times that I've gone back and played it where you're moving across the map and picking out different levels, and I'm like, okay, let me just get here because I know I can warp to here, and if I warp to here, then I know I'm done and I can take the tornado, and so that would be one of them. Pilot Wings
on the DS?
On Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
That I always had a hard time controlling that game. The Wii version was better. When they brought it back out again on the Wii or the Wii U, it was better. I mean, I had a Nintendo pretty much my entire childhood. So that's where a lot of that comes from. And then Street Fighter 2 Alpha or something. I think that's what it was called. That's before I really knew how to play fighting games, and I feel like I would just get my ass kicked in any kind of fighting game.
Okay, so
now.
It's not the game's fault.
Just not good at fighting games anymore. I used to be really good at them, but I'm just not good at them anymore. So,
for me, was that all your games?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, so I was able to get 5. So even though I talk about how much I love the game and I spent 2,000 hours in it, Killzone 2, I don't want to know if it holds up or not. I know you can only play with bots now and just the campaign since multiplayer was shut down. But I don't want to ruin those memories of how much fun it was to find out that it has not aged well. I mean, it was a shooter of certain tastes back then. So trying to jump back to it now would be hard. I do agree with him. GoldenEye. I had fond memories of playing that. I feel like that's the case with most Nintendo 64 games, is outside of like the Nintendo first party ones, which are like kind of timeless. But GoldenEye,
but even so, like if you went back and played an older Mario Kart, you'd be annoyed.
Yeah. And GoldenEye is one of those ones where I spent, I don't know how many hours playing that, but I know I will have a horrible time now, especially if I try and play with the N64 controller. Which I have a couple in this desk drawer.
Dude, I don't think I could imagine like holding a Super Nintendo controller again. Like I don't know if I could play something that I had to use a D-pad.
I like the idea of using the N64 controller. Just, oh god, that thing's so terrible. Though I do have an emulator on a 64 and some USB 64 controllers, but oh man. Road Rash on 64. Most racing games don't hold up from that era. Road Rash with the gimmick of, you have a weapon that you can just beat the other motorcyclists with. That game just looks like chunky as hell now, and it runs like garbage. So I would probably hate going back to that. And Twisted Metal. Any of the Twisted Metal games. I've tried to go back to them. They do not hold up. That gameplay, like the maps are just so empty now. I remember the maps being like, oh, there's cool little secrets here and there. But now when I look back at Twisted Metal, I'm just like, fuck, it's so empty. And the gameplay is really boring to me now. Like it is definitely, there's a reason why the Twisted Metal on PS3 just didn't fucking hit. There's several reasons. But that gameplay, I feel like, just doesn't hold up. Like that car combat, that style, arena car combat stuff doesn't hold up. You need something more to it. So like the Twisted Metal games, as much as I love them, I'd never want to play a Twisted Metal game in my life. And then the last game, a game that I embarrassingly spent a lot of time playing in my childhood, Beavis and Butthead on Game Boy Color.
What?
Yeah. It's a terrible game. It's a Beavis and Butthead game. I remember I picked it up specifically because I thought I wasn't supposed to have it, but Beavis and Butthead was one of the shows that, like, my mom didn't care what I watched, but Beavis and Butthead was definitely one of those shows. She would be like, Michael, you shouldn't watch this. And I went to Funkoland and picked up Beavis and Butthead on the Game Boy for like $5. And I remember I used to play that constantly because it was something that I thought in my head, like, I shouldn't have this game, but I do. And I remember having fun with it, but looking at screenshots of it, that game looks bad. I kind of want to look up some YouTube videos of it, but like Jesus, I would regret going back to Beavis and Butthead on a Game Boy. I'd rather just keep that a very stupid memory that I have. So yeah, there's a little bit of random for you, Dave.
Nice. All right. I think that is our show. I don't have anything to spotlight other than, like I said earlier in the show, it looks like gifted subs are 20% off on Twitch. So if it's something you guys feel led to do, you want to give some subs on Twitch. I hear this Baddest Page guy needs some competition for gifted subs on our Twitch channel since he's like nuts as a supporter. So if it's something you guys want to feel like throwing some support our way, that'd be appreciated. I'm going to, as you're listening to this, hopefully like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to try to stream a little bit more, just during the day a little bit. I'm home. Owen still goes to the babysitter, so I get some time to chill out a little bit. Just kind of getting ready. We're kind of in the waiting pattern for next gen. And I know I had talked about it, but it's just not going to work. It's not going to fit this year, but we will start looking at it for next year. Like Extra Life's just not going to work. So it's definitely something that we will seriously look at for next year, just to see if something that Michael and I can work out. Maybe involve some of the community as well. Instead of us like being crazy and playing for 24 hours, maybe I'll play for like 8 to 10 hours. You play for 8 to 10 hours, and somebody else plays for a few others, or we do like 6-hour sessions or something, just as a group to support each other and have some fun. So that'd be something cool to do.
Yeah. Still support Extra Life, everyone. There's some great streamers out there making content.
Yeah, especially right now, like the stuff that I would love to try to do something, but full disclosure, it kind of snuck up on me, but snuck up on us. And there's just so much going on too with, like Michael going back to work and us, like some changes I had at work. It's just not feasible for us to do that at the current time. But just children's hospitals have been hit so hard by COVID in general, with fundings and everything. So if you are able to, if you don't know who to support, please reach out to myself or Michael, and we will point you in the right direction. We know plenty of people that are doing it. If it's not hard, it's like November 7th, I think, is when it is. Yeah. So
and you can find the hospitals in your area that are a part of it. So then you can donate to streamers or the hospital directly through Extra Life if you want to impact your community.
I would love to challenge you to find somebody small, like Kinda Funny does a great job, Rooster Teeth does a great job, there's these huge streamers and companies, IGN does a great job. I would look for, hopefully see if you can find somebody that's supporting a hospital near you, and if they're supporting a hospital near you, that you can find a streamer that maybe is just trying to be a good person and trying to do something cool, and giving them even a donation of $5, like when they set their goal at like $100, or they set their goal at like $50. Like I remember the first time I did it, just to wake up in the morning and see donations of $10 or $15, like from just people in general. Like it was so cool. Yeah. And definitely is motivating. So like those bigger places, they're gonna get their clout, like I always do, and they deserve it. But let's find somebody that's truly doing it out of the the kindness of their heart, and really, really wants to do it for their local hospital, and see if you can throw them a donation. If you're going to donate $20 to Extra Life this year, maybe find 4 people that you can give $5 to.
Yeah.
But other than that, you got anything else?
No, just a lot of work. Just a lot of work.
So yeah, just feel free to follow us on social medias. The main account is at Digital Days Pod on Twitter. Michael's is at The First MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. And you can also catch all the other social links in the show notes: Facebook group, Discord, Twitch, YouTube's, all that stuff. And then patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. There's multiple tiers there. You can get the tip jar for $1, Discord access for $3 to a private channel in our server. $5 gets you the podcast 24 hours early, and $7 gets you a monthly bonus episode, which we need to record one for October because it's already almost the middle of October. But if you feel led to support us on Patreon, it's there. There's also a direct PayPal link if you want to support us that way. Again, none of that is required. Please only support us if you can. Or if you can and you want to. I don't want anybody to feel obligated to do so. The support that we've gotten is fantastic. But again, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, just sharing the show is listening, downloading, and sharing the show are the 2 biggest ways that you can help us grow. So other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward. And as always, Michael,
don't be a dick. And see you.